This is the Business of Leadership Series Minute with your host, the best-selling author of Don't Buy a Duck and founder of MarketingStrategyHero.com, Derek Champagne.
We have a special guest today. I'm talking today with Dr. David Fajgenbaum. He has an incredible new memoir called Chasing My Cure, A Doctor's Race to Turn Hope into Action. And so, Dr. David, thank you so much for taking a few minutes with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you talked about your girlfriend, and I know you've had some progression since then because I've seen some of the news stories. I know your story. Tell me about that, and then I want to hear more about just with your book. I want to hear more about what people can expect when they read through this memoir.
Yeah. So at the time of my fourth flare, the fourth time I nearly died, Caitlin and I were dating, and as I said, I was just hoping for days or weeks or months of more time with her and with those I love, my friends and my family. And I got to work. I rolled up my sleeves, started doing lab work, created this foundation, and was making some progress, certainly as quickly as I could, when I relapsed about a year later. And again, nearly died for the fifth time, needed multi-agent chemotherapy to save my life again. And this time it was maybe even more difficult because I had just gotten engaged to Caitlin just a few weeks before I relapsed. And so the stakes almost felt higher. And it was mainly, again, it wasn't that I was sad that I wouldn't have a long life with her. I think that I was really sad that I wouldn't make it to our wedding day. I was, again, living in a very short-term sort of mindset. Our wedding day was 5 months away. And so when I got out of the hospital and I survived for the fifth time, I really got to work diving through all of my data to see if I could find some signals in my data to suggest that a drug might be effective for treating my disease. And I go through this in detail in the book as to kind of how I got to identify this drug and think that maybe it could work. It was developed for another disease 25 years ago. It had never been used before for Castleman disease, but I decided to give it a shot because I had run out of options, and all I wanted to do was make it to May 24th, 2014, our wedding date. And so I started myself on this treatment. And just as you mentioned, and obviously because I'm here today on this podcast, I survived through May 24th, 2014. We were able to get married. And I've continued to fight for this disease. I don't know. It's been about 5.5 years that I've been in remission now, and I dream and I hope and I pray for a long future with my wife, but I also know that I may relapse tomorrow, and that I know that my overtime may end tomorrow. So I run a foundation that's fully focused on accelerating research for Castleman disease. There are about 5,000 patients diagnosed each year in the U.S. with Castleman disease, so it's about as common as ALS, but obviously a lot less well known. And so I pushed for new drugs and new research, and then I also run this foundation. And thankfully, a little bit over a year ago, my wife and I had our first child, Amelia. Amelia, and such a gift as a parent. I know that you can appreciate.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of gift it was to have Amelia. And so, I live, every day is a blessing. But I also live knowing that I need to keep pushing things forward. And that's, the main reason I wrote this book is to share the lessons I learned about life and about living from nearly dying. But I also wrote this book because I want to raise awareness about Castleman disease and about rare diseases more generally. These are diseases that are taking people all over the U.S. that are these deadly illnesses where we need to do more research. And so I'm really hopeful that this book will help to inspire people to live in overtime, to think it, do it, to turn hope into action, and as a byproduct also help to raise awareness about these really frightening and mysterious rare diseases.